1966. Beneath the broad blue skies of Melbourne, Australia, a quiet suburb was thrust into the annals of UFO lore. This extraordinary day saw more than 200 students and teachers become inadvertent witnesses to an inexplicable spectacle, an eerie silver object gliding silently above, then disappearing as quickly as it had appeared. The event sparked a frenzy of activity, with government agents descending on the scene, whispers of cover-ups, and frantic scrambles to explain away the unexplainable. Yet, the incident refuses to be dismissed or forgotten, lingering in the collective memory as a beacon to the unexplained and a symbol of the potential for otherworldly visitation. This case file, join the theorists as they have a ripsnorter discussing schoolyard flying saucers in the Westall UFO Event.
Welcome to Alien Theorists Theorizing, case file 318, Westall UFO.
Crikey!
I'm Braden.
I'm Zal.
I'm Dan.
And I'm Andrew.
I just want to make an announcement before we get going. My contract status has been signed. The boys finally agreed to my terms of to up my meal per diems. I wasn't happy with the previous meal per diem package.
Holding out. Yep.
And also, this will be our last podcast because he's already broke the budget on his meal per diem.
So I'm, for all of those wondering, I'm now re-signed into 2044 on this current deal. It's a front-loaded contract.
Fucking 12 Oreos a podcast.
Yeah, 12 double stuffs.
And he's allowed to eat during the podcast to your displeasure.
Yeah, once a month, I'm allowed a full smorgasbord during the show.
Yeah, we let him use the podcast logo for his cult now. So
there's going to be 2 bathroom breaks.
He's got the patent to a new chest-mounted tray where it actually just sits under his microphone.
Yeah.
He can just
hands free. It's kind of hilarious how many people like this. It's been a running joke of ours. Anytime someone misses a week, forever
they're dead,
that they're
quit the
dead
show.
or they're off the show. They quit. I mean, we had Dan photoshopped in for 3 weeks.
He was on a loop. Dan was on a loop for a month.
That does not get enough credit.
No, that doesn't get enough credit.
That does not get enough credit. That's so fucking funny.
That was so funny. That was the best. Like
the hate that Dan got for that. It's like some of the fucking funny.
I can't believe you, Dan.
We literally, people left Patreon and like left comments being like, I'm not going to support the show with Dan's fucking pissy attitude.
It's true. Yeah, you could take an exit survey. We got a couple of those. Like, I'm out. This is fucking stupid. Dan's a joke.
Yeah. That was before we did that. That's before we did that.
It was that and this one. I was like, people were like messaging me like, "Yo, like, is everything good? Like, I can't believe you'd leave the show." I'm like, I didn't. I fucking said I was going on vacation. I said this is gonna be a busy next month. Shit's gonna be fucking crazy for every one of us for the next month and a bit until everything settles down. We got new jobs, new houses, people are moving, vacation,
holiday season.
Like, it's fucking insane. Well, you're leaving the show. Fucking Zell and Braden had a falling out, and Braden's contract. I was like, contract? Where the fuck's going on? Where's this? I was like, I couldn't believe
great.
it. I'm re-signed. It's all good. I'm still here.
Unfortunately, though, this will be my last episode.
Yeah, part of the deal. Zell lost in the poll by 1%.
Yeah, I'm out.
It was 6% Team Zell, 8% Team Braden.
Bepsi wins.
Bepsi, yeah, Bepsi. Bepsi was a whopping 80%.
Pickle Baby will be the new host of the show.
So that before we start, I went to Mexico.
There it is.
Yeah, I went to Mexico.
He did go on vacation.
That's where it was.
Mm-hmm.
It was an amazing trip, I heard, right?
No, it's fucking
absolutely
terrible.
Amazing.
Absolutely fucking brutal.
Did you shit your pants again?
Oh, dude.
Of course. I mean, you went to Mexico.
Every day.
First off, book this trip. Book this Mexico trip. Wine drunk. Probably 2 months ago.
As you do.
Just, it was like
adding a couple of LBs to that liver of yours.
Yeah.
No
Having some red wine, it's good for you. Red wine's good for you. Having some Renner Red and whatever, who hasn't got drunk and made a poor decision, right?
Not me.
The next decision,
A single time.
I kind of remember you pooping in an alley.
That was sober.
I had no choice.
Stone cold sober.
So, whatever. And then it just so happened we bought a house, and then it was
No
like,
big
fuck.
deal.
And it was like, fuck. Really wish we didn't book that Mexico trip. And then it was like, can we cancel? I was like, no, because we're like, we don't need the cancellation insurance. We're going. I was
We
like,
got all the deals. It's
cancellation
all,
insurance.
yeah. So I was like, oh, so whatever. We're like, okay, well, we're going to be eating beans and rice for the next 5 years. So we might as well enjoy this the last time we go to Mexico. 2 days before the trip, I'm sitting on my couch and Fat Luna jumps up on the back of the couch.
God damn it.
Just
Luna.
looking at the window. And she fucking turns and just bites me. Just fucking latches onto me, bites me, fucking flinger. I'm like, what the fuck? It's happened before. Anyone who has cats, has
They suck.
got a rogue bite.
Yeah.
Well,
So-
I mean, sometimes they just don't want to wait till you die.
Yeah.
They're
Right? There's
trying to get ahead of the
take a
game.
chance, yeah. Or maybe she saw you. Like I'm going to go on a limb here and assume you have sleep apnea. So maybe you're having a fucking nap. You went apneic for a little bit, and she decided to take a little fucking taste.
So whatever.
Just to make sure.
Listen,
Yeah.
I've been fucking bit before. I've been bit by tons of cats. I've been bit by 2 cats simultaneously, pulling them apart, fighting. I've had cats for the last decade, been bit tons of times. Go wash it, whatever, little polysporin, Band-Aid, fucking bingo, bango, bongo. Go to bed. Next morning, I'm doing some stuff for some friends. I'm cutting some wood and stuff, and I throw on a long sleeve because I don't want to get all the sawdust all over me. Fucking working away. And this is now 48 hours before I'm on a plane to Mexico. And halfway through the day, I'm like, man, I feel like I sprained my wrist.
Oh, no.
And I was like, maybe just because I haven't been doing fucking manual labor for a while. So I'm like, fuck, man, my wrist. I'm thinking my wrist. I get home, I whip off my shirt to go take a shower, and my fucking arm from my wrist to my elbow is just fucking beet red,
Buddy,
bamboo
Popeye.
ass red.
And Popeye.
And huge, swollen. And I was just like, I couldn't even believe that. I was like, how did I not notice and feel this? It was so bad that when I squeezed my arm, I squeezed my elbow, pus would come out of my arm. Like I was just like, oh, she's infected. Like this is in bad.
Like you should have been on the show Dr. Pimple Popper.
Oh yeah. It was fucking gnarly. And so I'm like, oh, this is bad. So I fucking squeeze it, drain it, clean it. Call a friend that works at the hospital. They're like, it is insane right now. So I'm like, well, I'll polysporin it, clean it out. It's already fucking 8 o'clock now. If it's bad in the morning, I'll go in the morning. If it's not getting better,
on it.
yeah, rub some dirt on it. Don't rub dirt on it. That was a bad decision. I woke up in sweats in the night, just sweats. I was like,
Budweisers?
I wear those.
Sweats.
Yeah.
I wear those, and I was just like, holy fuck! I was like, I am fucking dying. So I woke up Jamie. I was like, I gotta go to the emergency. Go to the emergency. They're like, oh, that's what the doctor said. That was his diagnosis.
Was it similar similar
Wrote that down.
to my foot in Thailand where he goes, ooh.
Yeah,
Cut it off.
He went, oh.
No.
That's what he did. And I was like, oh, okay. And he's like, okay, well, we're gonna have to. He's like, these kind of bites, just so you're well aware, can turn bad fast. And he's like, and yours is already bad, so we need to get on it right away. We're gonna hit you with some pretty heavy antibiotics, and if this thing doesn't clear up in 3 days, start getting better, we're gonna have to get you back in on drip antibiotics and right. And I go, well, I'm supposed to go to Mexico, and he's like, not if that thing gets any worse. He's like, you'll be here getting your arm removed. And I was like, oh, cool. All right, thanks.
Nice.
So I'm on the antibiotics, and to be honest, overnight I could tell it was getting better. So I was just like, I'm going to Mexico. Fuck
yeah, of course.
So now I'm on heavy antibiotics that are killing me. They made me so fucking sick every time I ate them, like bead and sweat, like just like fucking Bangkok bubble gut, just like dead, pale ghost. Just what you want to go to and then spend fucking 7 days in Mexico. So we go to Mexico. First 2 days, I'm pretty sick from the antibiotics, and I'm like, my arm's still red. So I'm like, I'm not going to start drinking until my arm clears up, because I've mixed antibiotics and fucking and booze before, and I didn't really feel like having a manic episode in Mexico. So I was like, I'll be fine. So arm clears up. First 2 days, right off. Just like, I'm so like dead in the heat, like fuck sweating, like just the most miserable you could possibly be. Roman's having a great time running around the fucking water park. Jamie's having drinks. I'm just fucking dead. 2 days in, fucking cut the pills. I'm instantly good. I'm like fucking revved up, ready to go.
You're allergic to them?
2 fucking good days. 2 good days. Sun and the fun. Fucking feasting on Mexican buffet. Fucking tacos. And then an old buddy came back for some revenge.
He's a good friend.
Montezuma.
He's a good friend.
Friend of the show.
Yeah, good friend of the show. I've had many run-ins with this combatant. And then for the next 48 hours, I proceeded to have uncontrollable diarrhea every like 15 minutes. Dude, I had the worst case of bamboo ass I've ever had.
What
I was like,
eat?
I cannot. Dude, nothing. There was nothing, just liquid coming out of my body. I was like, I'm 15 pounds lighter than when I left for Mexico.
That's a win.
Right?
That's a win.
Just absolutely dying to the point like I couldn't even fucking look at toilet paper anymore. I was like, I'm having a shower every time. I'm like, I'm having a shower. I can't do it. I can't do it. I'm like sicker than a dog. And then so I'm sick for 2 days. So now for 4 days, 5, 6, I've had 2 days. I'm sick for 2 days. We got one last day. Boom. Roman's sick. Roman wakes up with food poison or something. He's puking. Just like nonstop. We're like, sweet, like phenomenal, excellent, right? He's just projectile and fucking milk pukes everywhere in the room. Just fucking dropping bombs. Absolute nightmare of a trip. Like 2 days were great. I'll never go back with an infant.
Nothing like spending thousands of dollars to have a shit time, eh?
Oh my God, dude. I was literally telling you, I have more fun at home. Drinking on the deck at home than what just happened here. But it was all right. Whatever. It is what it is. You can't win them all.
That'll teach you for trying to have a good time.
Yeah. I don't know why. Gone. Yeah. I don't know why I tried. I thought about it
just
for a second.
Just accept it.
Might as well just have another kid and be even more miserable.
Yeah. Yeah. That's. Right? I think that's the next step.
That's true, because the second one just absolutely fucking shit kicks you.
It's the worst.
Just destroys
the fucking worst. And then you see people with 3, 4, whatever. You're like, what the fuck is wrong? Are you a fucking masochist? Like, what is wrong with you?
How did those people used to have 8 kids? Like, what the fuck?
Well, because few of them would die.
Yeah, 4 of them would die.
Right? They'd die in the fields.
Yeah. And that was your labor too, right? Like,
you're breeding workers at that point.
You're breeding workers. Yeah. You're like,
now you're their laborer.
Yeah.
Like you are the laborer.
It's a one-way street.
It's awful.
Yeah.
Awful.
For about 2 more years, and they're getting full-on child labor at home.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Dude.
I'm gonna have my kids making Nikes.
Yeah.
Fucking burn your feet.
Yeah, you better get good.
Yeah. All right.
We got to compete with China anyways. Yeah.
Oi.
For this one, I've done extensive research watching the Wiggles, and that one fucking guy, there's that one where they're like, oh no.
Everyone listen to this is sitting there shaking their head because they know your child should be watching Bluey and not the Wiggles.
Hey, listen.
It's fucking child abuse, man.
But you know what's going to
You're
happen?
depriving your child of the greatest fucking children's TV show.
He just doesn't care right now. I'm sure Bluey's coming. Dude, it took so long to get over Miss Rachel. and then it was the fucking dancing veggies. There's the dancing veggies, and now
like
it's
like the fucking Christian ones.
No, the hay bear where it's like fucking.
I didn't get into those ones.
And then
I've never heard of that one.
And now it's the Wiggles.
I remember fucking the Christian vegetables though.
But it's going to be great.
VeggieTales.
VeggieTales.
Yeah,
yes.
VeggieTales. Oh, I remember them well.
Yeah, I bet you do.
We're gonna have
listeners.
We're gonna have listeners who don't have kids and like Wiggles. Like, yeah, I kind of know what they are. And then they're gonna have kids later on, and this conversation from us is they're gonna be like, fuck, because it's not like some of the Wiggles episodes I've watched must be like 12 years old.
Everybody sing.
Yeah, the one
with your partner.
Yeah, the guy motherfucker falls asleep. He falls asleep, and they're like, "Oh no, he fell asleep." Oh no! I was like, "You're on the job, motherfucker. Wake up! Like, don't be giving a bad example to my kid."
You do that.
So if you didn't guess, we're doing a UFO case based in Australia.
Yeah,
crikey!
Good old fashioned Aussie UFO case.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Coming across research for stuff. This is one of the what the fuck did I read? It was like all of it was like, this is the most memorable case of all Australian UFO. I was like, what? No, we had the fucking UFO case of the one like landed on their fucking roof of their car. Like this one is
that one was fucking
that one was fucking awesome.
I was like this one. I was like. Well, actually, no. There's some bits and pieces that are interesting in here. So, on the 6th of April, 1966, something strange happened near the. It's just I always think it was ZZ Top because apparently it's like the place that this happened. It was known as the Grange, which is. Like Melbourne's like southeastern suburbs area.
It's Melbourne.
It's not Melbourne.
Melbourne.
And it happened near the Westall Primary School at the time, which is like, is it K through 12? No.
I think it's K through 7.
K through 7.
It's the same as ours, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
Which
I think, my area, like my primary school, like we only had 1 through 6, and then you had 7 and 8 were their own school, and then we had
high school
9 through 12 and
that was similar to what
it's similar, very similar to us,
but so most of these were like small kids, so it was around 10:15 that morning, and he had 2 groups of students that were outside during Australian phys ed class, which I imagine consists of like kangaroo wrestling.
You let a crocodile go and they all run. Whoa! That's right. I'm pretty sure that's
look at that beauty.
You watch the crocodile hunt. You watch the crocodile hunter, and each kid's got to try and match the passion for wildlife that Steve Irwin had.
Yeah,
that's phys ed.
Or they're playing fucking rugby.
Or they're beating the shit out of each other with AFL or rugby.
Aussie rules or some shit.
Sure, cricket bats or something was
Sure, they're dying.
NRL's way better than the AFL.
Getting murdered by fucking poisonous snakes or spiders in the playground.
Something like that. I'm sure. This is 1966.
It's
Australia had just been colonized, right? Like there's
66. I think they're still shipping criminals in 66, aren't they?
Yeah. I don't need to look at that, but I know that's so you had a report from most of the witnesses at this time. So you had a couple of number of students, and you had like a couple of teachers, but you had a collection of reports that would come in later, describing this silvery object that appeared over the Grange, which was near, like, just that morning. Like, I guess recess was just about to sound at that point, and you had this object just like float in like over the school,
and the kids saw it like out of the windows and shit. They're like started pointing at it like, "Wow, holy shit!"
Right? That's what they all said.
You had the kids who were already outside during the phys ed class, like just pointing out this craft or seeing something, and like it was just like floating over that thing, and is definitely not a plane. It definitely wasn't like a normal object that was up there, and the kids were just going ballistic. Like kids were just running around screaming.
As they would anyways, though. Like that's pretty normal.
Even in the classroom, though, there was like, some of the reports and some of the like the firsthand accounts, people were saying that like all the kids were like rushing to the window, and like I kind of remember doing shit like that too, not for UFOs, but like some would be going on, and everyone just like you don't listen at all. You're just out of your desk, fucking to the window, and like teachers trying to rein them in, like, it's not the bell yet. Sit down. It's not the bell.
Yeah. Well, you
In
had
your
kids
desk.
running. You had kids running in from outside, like at the phys ed class, like bolting into classes, like they weren't in, and being like, "There's something fucking outside. Like you got to go look."
There's
And
a
all the kids-
saucer.
Flying saucer.
Enough for them to like ignore, the admonishments of their teachers and whatnot. And
that's back when you used to fucking whip kids and stuff.
Oh yeah.
Like,
you're fucking dead.
like kids listened back then.
Don't they still whip? I think they still whip kids in Australia.
No, the kids whip the fucking teachers from what I see on Twitter.
In Australia?
I don't know.
Well, I guess in big city Australia, but in country Australia, the kids are getting beat to shit, I would imagine. Still.
Maybe I should take my kids to Australia.
Maybe I'll whip them into shape.
Wait, we've gone through a weird phase of culture where it was like your teacher beat you, and then it's like your teachers weren't allowed to beat you, then your parents would beat you. And now it's like you beat both your parents
You beat the shit out of everybody. And no one can do a fucking thing about it.
No.
Your dad takes you Nintendo Switch, beat his ass.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Shoot him.
So this silvery gray object appeared over the school, and it flew over towards their playground, and then it seemed to kind of like disappear and lower behind a stand of trees, kind of a short distance away from the school. So, from what the reports say, this craft then rose back up and then reappeared over this stand of trees. And then another interesting part of this is actually seemed to be pursued by a number or several like small aircraft, like identifiable
Like a bunch of
aircraft,
Cessnas are chasing after it.
Scramble the Cessnas.
What are you talking about? That's the Australian
Is that
Air
the
Force.
Australian Air Force? Like, what are we talking about here?
1966.
Bunch of Cessnas.
It's just a bunch of bush pilots. Or it's those guys it's from Mad Max, the guy in the little gyrocopter. It's just those guys. So after every time these craft, like they seem to be aware of this object, like they seem to be actually be chasing it at some point. And like every time that they would kind of get close, it seemed that the object would kind of accelerate a little bit faster to move away from these objects or from the aircraft themselves. And then it would take off again. Same thing would happen. This happened like a couple of times when they were observing this event in the sky, and it lasted for like 20 minutes. Like kids had their eyes on this object, and these planes kind of like playing this cat and mouse game across over this large field and through the trees and whatnot. So just
being
mass
watched
panic
by like fucking like a whole school of kids and teachers. Just like, watching all this shit go down. Wild.
So this object and this entire event, one of the better kind of, I guess the information that's documented about this encounter, a lot of it's kind of like more recent because there was a documentary put out called the Phenom Westall 66 Suburban UFO Mystery. And you had at least, was it Shane? What was the guy's name? Shane. Like this guy kind of went in. Shane Dundee went in and interviewed like actual, people who had been kids around that time, because this is like, this entire event is for a lot of them was like a defining event like of their childhood, as it would be.
When he did a good job too, like looking into like all the news reports and like tracking down like information and stuff to kind of like, because for a long time, I think a lot of people, this was almost like an urban legend.
Yeah,
Legend.
Never happened.
And then this guy did like a lot of legwork.
Very South
like,
African.
Was it?
I don't think, yeah.
Isn't that the same thing though?
Same thing?
No.
Yeah, it is. We've talked about this before.
The
Same country.
What?
There's Australia's fake.
Australia's fake.
It's all in South.
I can't remember the joke. Is South Africa fake or
fake? Australia is South Africa.
Okay.
Australia doesn't really exist.
If we're being honest, though, I feel like Australia is a more believable place than South Africa.
Yeah,
you're not wrong.
Honest.
You're not wrong.
You're not wrong. Yeah.
Yeah. Get this one place in all of Africa where it's all these weird speaking white people.
Just weird white Dutch descendants. And
Yeah. Okay. Sure. The next thing you're gonna tell me there's a bunch of Nazis living in South America.
In Argentina, yeah, a bunch of Bavarian villages up in the mountains. With all blonde-haired, blue-eyed people. Yeah. Okay. But like he did a lot of legwork and like actually finding like, you know, meat on the bone with this account, because like he tracks down like old news reports and like from this time of like them talking about this exact sighting, which a lot of people have kind of like brushed off as like, it was nothing.
It was a weather balloon.
Yeah, he put out like a number of calls like to actual witnesses who had been there around that time. So like one of those people is named Jacqueline Argent. Like she actually made the claim that her when they tell the story about what happened, like they all remember there was a number of kids who actually like chased down the aircraft, like they left school grounds like completely and just like booked it across these like I guess these seasonal fields that were out there, and like they just chased down this UFO, and
you would, I think, as a kid. Like,
I mean, it's like
a bunch of Aussies. Oh, fuck off!
You try to throw rocks at it for sure.
Wait, cunt!
And she actually claimed that there was at least one girl, like she told the story of a friend named Tanya. She didn't give a last name, that she knew, and like I guess she was friends with at school.
Not real.
And she said that this girl actually passed out like when they got near the craft. Like she actually like fainted.
So what it is, like, to just tie it into the original story, is like when these crafts kind of drop down below the tree line, what like Dan talked about before, apparently there was like, you know, kids in the field and stuff, and they just started, you know, busting through the holes in the fence, jumping the fence, and they all took off to the tree line. And some of these group of kids made it there first, while there was some objects on the ground, and whatever it is and whatever happened before they lift off, this like Tanya girl, like it was one of these kids just fucking passed out cold.
Just fell out. Boom. Yeah.
Right. So like when all these the like second group of kids and adults come over the crest, these things are lifting off and taking off, and they've just left a couple of these kids really shaken, and this Tanya girl fucking out.
And so they were saying that when they made it, when they like, I guess she kind of came to like after these craft, like we said, actually ends up like they watched these craft like lift back up into the air. And then when they made it back to the school, you know, and their friend, I guess Tanya had to either kind of waken up, but like they had gotten her back to the thing. Like she was received by like the school nurse or something. Like there was a teacher there that, you know, kind of took a hold of her, and then was like they had to call an ambulance like later, like, you know, within a few hours, and that ambulance came, took Tanya away, and Jacqueline says they never saw that girl ever again. And no what happened to her.
She got neuralized and put into service.
One guy, Victor Zakrzny, I guess he claims that he was actually close enough to these objects to when they landed down in this like field, like to feel like when they describe these objects, these silvery looking saucer objects, because the kids who got near these UFOs, like they said there was two of them, at least two. And when he got close to one of these objects, like he hopped over this fence, like just behind the school in this large, like kind of semi-wooded area, field, like this, I guess this long grass field where the craft landed. Like he said, he could feel heat emanating from the object itself.
Well, there was like some reports too when these things lift off that all the grass was like flat, and then some reports of it being burned. Which kind of lines up with like
circle.
Yeah, with kind of lines up with Victor. But I will like caveat that with like a lot of the interviews I watched with the people who witnessed, they say burned, and a lot of them are like, I think burned, but definitely laid flat. So I'm like, but then you take some of the accounts like Victor's where they're like, they felt this like really immense heat, and you're like, okay, well maybe melted. Maybe that's the, you hear those like in the old crop circles, the nodes fusing or whatever. Maybe that's from whatever heat this.
Yeah, they fuse sideways.
So maybe that's like this heat, and that's what they were seeing there.
Well, that's true, because they do talk about in crop circles and that kind of stuff. It almost looks like the nodes were microwaved, like they pop and they fuse. and they don't get broken. They like pop and like melt sideways. So maybe.
What nodes are we talking about here?
On the fucking stalks. On the,
on the grass has those little round nodes as it goes up.
Yeah. Well, like knobs.
Oh, okay.
So in the crop fields, like those nodes of whatever crop it is gets like fused sideways. They don't get broken. We're in the
so they're just hit with an immense amount of heat.
Or just energy of some kind. Yeah.
And the difference is with the hoax ones where people go out with the boards, then their stalks are broken or bent.
Yeah.
Crunched. So the real ones are where they're actually they've looked to be melted and fused, not broken.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Case file
33.
It was like 15. 14, crop circles with Freddie Silva.
I like to pretend I know.
He had a 317% chance there, right? Like just take a shot.
I think it's like
317%.
I don't think that's how percentages work.
I feel like that's how the math checks out.
I'm pretty sure I took a wild stab. I'm on the same odds. I don't know actually.
Yeah.
You got the 1 in 317.
Someone's going to message and say, "You guys, you fucking idiots." This case file.
Yeah.
We are idiots.
People
but you
do
know
that.
what? So are you.
How is it different from any other case file? Yeah. Everybody. We get that once a week. Maybe more than once a week, probably. So after these craft lift back up in the air and are seemingly chased away and pursued by these aircraft, it seems by some reports that there might have been signs of military cover-up, and we'll get to that after the beer break.
Be right back. Yep.
We're back.
Boy, crikey.
Crikey.
So where this case actually gets kind of interesting is that after these craft seem to have taken off and left, the area where they had supposedly landed, where these kids reported seeing these craft land, like a few hours later, like within hours, like maybe several hours, like 2 or 3 hours, they said that there was a report that camo trucks, like camouflage trucks with camouflage looking military looking canvas covered trucks showed up on site, and like you had military personnel or like these personnel copped out in like what seemed to be like khakis, military fatigues, jump out and kind of seem to cordon off
fucking
that
metal
entire
detectors
area.
and fucking little
but like
sensors.
First thing that should tip you off are the fucking Cessnas, man.
Yeah.
Like everybody had a G.I. Joe Cessna growing up, didn't they?
So you had this, you had like a number of reports, like just being like like we saw these military personnel, like
did they describe what the military looked like? Like, was it like camouflage or?
So some of the, at least one of the people I think was the guy's name was, you had at least Paul Smith. Was the name of one of the guys that was interviewed.
Sounds real.
Yeah.
Sounds super real.
What's your name?
He put his name in the documentary.
Paul
Put it on a
Smith.
little type. Paul Smith.
Yeah. Paul Smith and John Doe.
Yeah, what's the most basic name I could find for myself?
So yeah, in the Shane Ryan documentary, he interviews a market who was a market gardener at the time, who was working in that field, like a field adjacent to where the craft had gone and landed, and he reported actually seeing these trucks pull up to the field, and he said that the people who jumped out of these, they weren't like normal looking Australian military at the time. They didn't seem to be like normal Australian military uniforms. Like the fatigues that they were wearing were like khaki uniforms is what he described. It wasn't normal.
When you start to describe khaki uniforms, that's exactly how I picture the Australian.
Yeah, because like the reason I asked is I know like the Aussies, they didn't wear camouflage back then, right? Like that wasn't their military didn't wear.
I agree with Braden. I think everyone pretty much in Australia, as far as in my mind, wore a like short sleeve khaki collared t-shirt. Just
some
like
sort of like shark tooth necklace or something, or like
something like that. Yep.
And then some sort of tilly hat with one side pinned up.
Yeah.
right?
That's what I
And then when they go to formal events, they just take the shirt off. Like,
yeah, they undo a couple extra buttons.
Yeah, that's
and
formal.
then do up the other side of the hat as well.
For only special occasions, extra formal. Do a couple buttons. So you reported that these things. So now there's a bit of speculation that these uniforms might have actually been more typical of U.S. servicemen who might have been stationed at one of the nearby U.S. force, like U.S. bases, since this would have been like high time Vietnam. Like there would have been a U.S. There was a U.S. military presence in Australia at the time.
And this is like with a timeline of UFO craft retrievals we've talked about in other times. If we're to believe that, you know, the United States, the Roswell one was the first one, they have now a system in place and a protocol is probably for these kind of events. So it would make sense if there's a base, they're like, you scramble the people who know what to do.
Scramble the Cessnas.
Yeah.
That'll throw them off.
Get the crop justice.
And so the actual like reports of these things, this craft, like the headmaster of the school apparently tried to keep a lid on the information of the encounter actually getting out. Like as soon as the kids got back in and they got them under control after, you know, just the absolute bedlam that was, you know, Westall School post UFO sighting. I guess they gathered all of the kids together, and a number of the people who were interviewed for this who remember this assembly were saying that there were people there like in suits, like which look like
black suits?
White collar,
black or very dark blue, maybe.
They wear sunglasses.
Well,
may have wear sunglasses.
Mm-hmm. Well, there was one of the unfortunate things with this case is because it was in 1966 and, you know, wasn't researched and kind of uncovered to this documentary till way later. And all these witnesses came together way after. A lot of the teaching staff has passed away from then, but there was one, Andrew Greenwood. He's like the last remaining teacher.
Now that's an Australian name.
Yeah. And
I think he was one of the only people who's like interviewed like shortly after the case, because I think like an American investigator came over to investigate that UFO, and he had like Andrew Greenwood was one of the few teachers that was actually went on record to be interviewed about the encounter itself.
When he like talked about like with the headmaster, the principal, I guess, as he was like with
why do I picture him looking like Snape?
Yeah,
for sure. But in khakis.
Yeah, Greenwood.
Oi, Potter.
So he like kind of described like the principal being like not letting the teachers leave, being like, hey, you tell the students they didn't see nothing, you tell them to keep their mouth shut, and like
what they thought they saw, what they think they saw that
they did not see. Yeah, 100%. Right. And he's just like, you tell them you tell them weather balloon, you tell them that, and Andrew Green was like it's kind of weird. And he also had an account of like one of the other teachers, when this started happening and all the kids were going crazy, she grabbed her camera and just started snapping pictures of this event and whatever was in the sky with her camera. And that he had seen like her get pulled into the headmaster's office and these people in suits basically being like, you have to give us your camera. And like she arguing with them, being like, why do I have to give you my camera? And they like forcibly took it from her. Like in the headmaster's office.
Yeah, it wasn't that they just wanted the film, like they wanted the whole camera. Like they're just like, we're taking this and
taking everything.
So this leaves.
Give me your fucking purse too.
Yeah. Bitch. Whatever's in your pockets, empty it out now.
Those mints, those Werthers.
Yeah. Let's go.
So a lot of them said that these people kind of acted or seemed to like come off as some type of like government officials, and like kind of aligning themselves with the headmaster and being like, yeah, you didn't see nothing. You're not going to say anything about this. And you had this.
What happens if it was just like Superintendent Chalmers or something like that? You know, like how do we know these guys are fucking military?
Well, they'd also tell the kids like, you're not talking to news stations, you're not talking to interviewers. Like very quickly, it's like it's a weird thing to like round these kids up so quick after, and you're like, you're not talking to nobody.
Yeah, but what happens if this was just like this event was just kind of like Pokemon cards for us. Like everybody's fucking principal stepped in at one point and been like, put those fucking cards away. Nobody's playing this shit anymore.
No one's
You're not trading them. You're not fighting them. They're gone. They're banned.
Because the event,
because this is an institution for learning.
Goddamn, talk about that.
The event kind of blew up within the first couple of days. You actually had investigators from the Victorian Flying Saucer Research Society arrive on the scene, like not 2 days later after the event. They had heard about the event and like the information had got out about it, because the story about the event was actually printed in like the local newspaper at the time. And I think Shane Ryan in his documentary like goes and finds like the original article, like when it was printed and like in the original format. And so when you had like all of these, you had a bunch of like news reporters coming on to the school grounds, and you had these UFO reporters, these civilian UFO researchers coming on to the or on school property or near it, and kind of trying to interview whoever they could, including the students. Kind of comes off as being like the headmaster's like, you guys, I mean, he tells them like, you can't talk to reporters on school grounds at all. Like you're not doing it here or near the school at all. And you shouldn't talk to these. But so the investigators from the Victorian Flying Saucer Research Society said that they, when they arrived, this was like right around the time that the school had actually closed for vacation. So most of the students were gone when they got there. I guess they had left for Easter break. And so they did manage to interview some of the locals in the area of the that which had been like reported where the craft had landed, and said that they actually took photos of the circle and the grass that they had seen. So they said that they claimed that they had photographic evidence of like this flattened area where the craft had reportedly landed. To this day, the society says it can't find those photos
or any record of
notes.
Or any record of the investigation.
Or any notes.
Now, see that alone, we've talked about other cases where something like that, and we all kind of collectively roll your eyes. You're like, okay, all right, but like, if that was alone the only thing of missing piece of like evidence, you'd be like, you'd maybe chalk it up to like maybe this is some bullshit happening. But there was also like legit like news reports from like local news stations that Shane tracked down for his interview, and he actually like found the rolls. They're like, yeah, it's in the archives. You just got to go through and find them. And he went through, found them, pulled them out, and they're empty. Like the film rolls are empty, gone.
Yeah, but listen, come on. Are they going to take the fucking case too? Or are they just going to leave an empty? Come on.
They left an empty case.
No, they didn't leave no fucking empty case. If the government or whoever the fuck is coming to confiscate this shit, they're taking the whole thing. They're not just going to take the film and leave the case. So people are like, oh, it's definitely here.
Yeah, I guess so.
Oh, no, it's not.
Yeah, I guess I never thought about that. It's a real smoking gun.
It never happened. Throw in the garbage.
Yeah.
Right? Like that just makes it seem like it's like
it's just set up by Shane then?
Yeah, like it's,
you think?
Sounds kind of fucking goofy.
Yeah, it just seems weird. That just seems a weird thing, because he already had so much like good evidence in the documentary from like news reports and stuff to then fabricate that little piece.
Yeah, but why would you leave the case? So people are like, there's definitely a fucking case, but no film.
Well, I'm going to just go on. Maybe it's something where you would have to check it out. Like, so say if you're going in there, you would have to sign it in, sign it out if you're going to take it. But it's easy for someone to go in and be like, oh, I'm looking for this other thing. Go to that one, take the contents and sneak out. Then there's like no record of the person coming in.
Yeah.
Like,
or you're the government and you say, we're confiscating this.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. I'm just trying. I'm trying to be devil's advocate on this one of how maybe.
No, I think. Hey, that was for you to rationalize that quick and come up with that was impressive.
Yeah. So I'm just.
It sounds like a man who's lost 14 pounds. It's quick, sharp.
Yeah. There's not a lot of actual juices up there for any other wild thoughts.
And Shane Ryan had been like working on this like prior to actually getting the documentary produced and distributed. Like he had been working on this case for a while. So like in April 2011, he actually kind of put out a call, I guess, for like the witnesses, like original witnesses of the Westall flying saucer to kind of gather together. And actually, like, despite it being so long after the event occurred, you had at least 50 people make their way back and kind of show up. And then he got a number of interviews to kind of put together enough information.
These people are like still affected by this. They're like, they still think about it all the time. Like, you can tell by a lot of these interviews, it's really impacted their lives.
Yeah, there's one witness that was like undergoing like hypnotherapy to try and recover more details from the
it's like
the event.
Okay, listen, people, it's not like you fucking were in the trade towers when they went down here. You saw a fucking saucer land in a field. Like, and you need to go see therapy. Like, what are we talking about here?
Well, she was going like hypnotherapy to like get the. It was interesting. She's like, the guy is doing the hypnotherapy. He's got the microphone out and he's being like, relax and all those techniques and kind of get her to recall more details about what happened that day. And she's talking about, I can remember seeing the events. I can remember the events in sequence, but it's like, I can't like remember faces. I'm like, well, that's kind of normal. It's like, like the faces of the kids, like you can't really remember that stuff, but you can remember exactly what was happening at the time. Like that,
giant fucking spaceship that was right in front of you.
Saucer coming down there.
and some of the drawings, and the like artist depictions of what they've saw, like you look at those things, you're like, it looks like a pretty fucking convincing UFO to me. It's a saucer. Yeah, that's a stereotypical UFO. Like, it looks exactly how you think. Like, bottom, lights around. You're like, shit.
I mean, without a doubt, it was a UFO for sure.
And there's still been
100%.
They don't know what it was.
Yeah, exactly. It was a UFO.
It was a UFO. A UAP. There's been a number of still like ongoing kind of. There's been, of course, interest, like besides Shane Ryan, like going into this, like there have been other UFO investigators that have kind of put forth like speculation and theories of to what actually might have happened, or, if this wasn't an alien craft, of like what else it could be. I think one of them is like, it's speculated that this was like an experimental aircraft. Why they would be flying around an experimental aircraft in Australia, not really sure. For me, or over a school at that point.
I mean, they're there. Why not?
So it's like,
military bases there.
There are military bases, and if you wanted to test it there, I suppose one of those. But I think like probably one of the most convincing theories is around this time there was a study going on,
and it was called like fucking hot air balloon, Dan, I'm gonna reach through the computer.
To the moon, Dan.
There was a break in the dollar store, and a lot of Mylar balloons
got loose.
There was something called Operation Highball, and so Operation Highball was a joint U.S.-Australian initiative to monitor atmospheric radiation.
So Operation Highball does sound like an Australian name. Know what I'm saying?
And so it was utilizing large silver balloons.
Oh fuck! I knew it.
Oh, god damn it, Dan.
This is the playbook we're talking about.
There's no fucking way though. They're just like,
this is the playbook, Braden, you're talking about. It's the fucking balloon.
Yeah.
Make people believe it. They're stupid.
I mean, it was a bunch of fucking kids.
No, and teachers. You have 50 people who have seen this. And
Do you?
Yeah, that came.
I saw like 4 people on that fucking documentary.
Right, and
that's it.
There's no
4
way.
people and fucking Paul Smith.
There's
whatever the fuck his name was.
Listen, there's no fucking
what was his name?
Balloon. There's no
John Smith.
It was Paul Smith.
Paul
Smith.
Smith.
John Smith.
There's no fucking balloons that just land. Like, so you're telling me about this? There's a hot air balloon that lands, and the heat being emitted is just the guy going with the flame, trying to get it to go back up. Like that's what's happening here. The descriptions to this, to then just chalk these up as fucking balloons, doesn't make a fucking lick of sense, because you're like, well, how these fucking balloons crash and then they just retake off? That doesn't make sense. Like, it doesn't make sense that they're running away from Cessnas.
Wasn't there 3 locations that they found that were burnt?
It doesn't make sense that anything would run away from a Cessna.
No.
Okay, so
Well,
that argument's null.
so the way that these balloons were designed, they had an assembly of like specialized sensors underneath the actual, like suspended like a little gondola below the balloon. So I think the normal operation for these things is that you would have these. You would launch these balloons, but then you would also have a small aircraft follow them. Like you would have a small aircraft like follow these balloons, and then once they were kind of done or they triggered their sensor, the plane would trigger a like a remote signal via radio, and then it would kind of trigger like a parachute for it to make it come down. Like it would have
That's exactly what happened. That's exactly what happened.
So
the planes were chasing like it. Yeah. Like what?
But here's the thing. So there's an actual researcher who published a paper about this. His name was Keith Basterfield, and when he published this paper,
that's a real name. That's
an Australian name. He was saying that his theory is that this was a runaway balloon from that highball, which is I guess it's an acronym for high altitude balloon or whatever. And so these balloons, like there's a series of they had a series of launches between 1960 and 1969. But the thing is, like a lot of those launches are well documented. Like these are you can put out requests for these. Like if you put in a FOIA request, like you can get the information about these launches. The thing is, this specific balloon, the one that may have landed in Westall or near Westall Primary School, is witnessed by the children. Like this one may have been like a rogue one that kind of got away, but there's no record of the specific launch that this one would be that he could find. Like he could get the records of like other launches and like the details about them, but this specific one that was launched on this day, like which should have been like in a series of numbers, he's like, it should be right here. Like this record should be here, but it's not. There's no information about it.
And then these balloons carried like a fucking 450-pound ball. Like it looks like a fucking wrecking ball. I pulled up pictures, and I'm just saying, like it has chains. Like let me pull up this picture here for a second, see if I can share.
And maybe just no one had seen a fucking high altitude.
But I'm like,
before.
I'm just saying, it looks very human. Like look at that wrecking ball.
It does look like a fucking
kids
wrecking
looking
ball.
at us.
Yeah, but I'm just saying I'm not looking at that thing and being like, look at the light and it's emitting heat and holy, like
sun's reflecting off of it. Maybe
I don't know, dude,
shiny fucking day.
I don't buy that. I just don't buy anyone looking at this thing and being like, it's an alien, it's a UFO ship, or a bright light, and
a kid for sure.
No, but there was teachers.
Kids
too.
fucking see crazy shit all the time. There was one teacher. Might have wanted his name in the fucking newspaper. I don't know. I'm just fucking around. It's definitely it was a military operation for sure.
This is one of Australia's
sure.
best known UFO cases, according to some write-ups about it.
No,
the one with the
car,
driving driving around in the car, driving around the car,
and she feels it with the jelly fucking thing.
Yeah, awesome.
That was a good one.
Ashy. That was the best one. This one is like it's interesting, just the amount of accounts.
This one, I think this one gets lumped in a lot with a lot of the school sighting. So there's like the aerial, the aerial school sighting where you have a number of kids who are like the majority of witnesses to these craft are all kids, and so
zero credibility.
You're kind of starting in the negative already for a lot of investigators. I live with
two of them. They're liars. One of them can't even fucking talk, and he's a liar.
Everything comes out of his mouth.
You're full of shit.
So yeah, there's a lot of investigators who are always kind of ready to write this off because it's, you're always just got a bunch of kids. There's the bandwagon effect. A lot of kids will just hop on it and be like, okay, your one friend saw something. They don't want to embarrass their friend, or they just want to be part of the attention. And they also give the same report and kind of back up what their friends say. So it is a bit difficult and challenging with these kinds of cases to kind of take them seriously right off the bat. even though it's like they put in this case, like a lot of it, like when it starts off, they're like, oh, it's like 200 kids saw this. They'll say like the whole school. It's like the whole school saw it. Everybody ran out, and it's like, well, only like a couple of kids actually made it out to the field to actually see these things, or report that they saw these things. And then the like the military trucks and those things like that. It's something that's kind of, for me, now that I think about it, like strikingly missing is like there's no evidence of those trucks like driving up. Like there's no like tire marks like that are taking photos. There's no, if they drove out into that field, like where they're saying that, they cordon off, like there would have been evidence of, it seemed like that would be something that you
big heavy trucks rolling through.
Yeah, there's trucks rolling up into a field where there's no real road. You just like kind of roll up in there. You'd have to leave tire marks.
It depends though, like because maybe there's a lot of people just drive on the field. You know what I mean? So it's like maybe it's not the sense that there's no evidence. It's just that there's so much traffic on the field that it's like you're like, where are we looking? Could be the polar opposite, right? Like it might be that.
Yeah. So it's one of those cases where it's like, yeah, you got a lot of witnesses, but it's also on like for me, it's kind of like low credibility witnesses, because it's all a bunch of kids, and you're like, kids make up shit all the time. It's like,
but do they stick with it as adults? Like, you know what I mean? Like that's the thing. Like, I feel like anything. It's just, that's a strange one for me. It's like, these people just are going to keep up the lie. They're like, I know I lied as a kid, and I'm just going to keep the lie going.
That's definitely an interesting facet to it.
Probably real to them as kids. That's the thing.
Yeah.
It's not a lie if you believe it, I guess.
Exactly. And
but devil's advocate, if you're a kid and you'd seen something weird, you couldn't explain it. In your mind, maybe you watched a little sci-fi, you read something, aliens are on your brain, like that was the UFOs, alien craft. I was 8 years old, I seen it. And then as you get older, you just always think, I seen a UFO. And then by the time you're 20, you're like, when I was 8, I think I seen a UFO. Yeah. And then you just kind of, you remember.
Yeah. The memory kind of crystallizes like in there. You'd be like, it becomes like a defining, and people are talking about it all the time. Be like, hey, remember we saw that UFO?
But what about the girl who didn't come back?
I know, right? That's also a really weird part of
the story. They're like, she was taken and she never came back. And then they never talk about it.
Doesn't even know her name.
That's true.
And like, right? It's like you don't think this little girl would have like looked into it.
But as far as the internet,
her name is Tanya. How many times? I guess there's a lot of Tanyas like in Australia. But,
but as far
how
as
did you
internet
not know
lore,
this kid's last name?
As far as internet lore, the girl just like, she is taken because she's seen something and just talking or whatever.
Yeah, let's get a fucking yearbook.
Never comes back.
That's a good point.
Circle
like point her out in the yearbook.
She probably like maybe she's psychically connected with the UFO, and they had to take her and like she received the information from the UFO.
She was fucking
she received
writing glyphs.
Yeah.
This case, as far as UFO cases go, of all the hundreds of ones we've done now, like the heat and like the craft, like emitting heat. Usually there's like no exhaust and like there's nothing really like. So that's one thing that's different in this one is like the heat of the craft when it came down.
Yeah.
And if it's the heat that does, we talked about like the node bending, but in like the crop circles, Freddie Silver will talk to you. We'll say it's like an energy, not a heat that like knocks them sideways and makes those patterns. But
didn't one of those guys we talked about that's like they went up and they touched the one and they got flashed, and the one guy didn't he get flash burned?
Oh, that was fuck.
Yeah, I don't know why I can't remember his name. Rendlesham, yeah.
You're talking about the guy.
Right? And he got flash burned, right?
Yeah.
So it's like...
Well, he also got fucking ones and zeros imprinted in his brain.
Yeah. Yes.
And it's like, I know kids don't need a huge reason to like book it off and like to run off and chasing something, but it's like you have a couple of kids just like leave school in the middle of the day, like, and just like bolt out across, half a mile of fields or something like that to chase this thing that was coming down. That kind of sounds credible. I'm like, oh, okay. Like they saw something solid enough to be like, we're going to go chase it. This is something that we need to go see. So it's like, you have that and you're like, it was something like there's something that they saw. But again, there's like no records of, even in the guy's investigation, like where he puts forth the idea that these were some types of, radiation detecting balloons. He's talking about like if there's like missing, there should be a memo reporting for actual launches during that like week of April 1966. And there should have been one that was scheduled on April 5th. 1966, the day before the Westall UFO sighting, but it's not there. Like it's gone. Like there's just a blank or something right there. So it's like, did the balloons find something and then they just like struck it all, or did somebody like forget to lock it that morning?
It's like really me. Stupid. I had a bunch of helium balloons in the front yard. Forgot to bring them back in. They were fucking in the trees in the windstorm yesterday. So they're with the Eagles now.
Oi, crikey.
But like Australia, though, like as far as UFOs landing, worst spot to land as a UFO.
Or the best spot, because no one lives anywhere in the whole country.
I guess so. And a lot of rare fauna and stuff that you don't see anywhere else.
Stuff that'll kill you.
Dude, Australia, isn't like 90% live in like the 4 big cities, and like it's scattered.
Isn't that Canada too?
No, Canada's 70% within an hour of the border.
Yeah.
But stretches the whole border. But yeah, I mean, Canada too. Like if you're a UFO, there's all the like earth minerals and anything rare is up in the north. You could just fly in there, fly out. No one's going to see you.
Yeah. No one's going to believe the
all Sasquatches and the Ogopogos and.
You know what I like to believe the most though out of all these cases? Anytime there's like a Men in Black sighting, or like people in the black suit that come up, or in the black cars. To me, I'm like, that makes the most sense. There is like a small group of people. There is Men in Black are real, and that's the coolest part. I'm like, just to fucking imagine. And like 20, because in when they had the Blackbird, that was the UFO back in the day, the late 60s. This insane alien-looking spy plane that people would catch glimpses of. And they're like, that's a fucking UFO. And they're like, we had that plane. And then eventually they're like, we've had this group of people. They actually do have aliens in a bunker. They hang out with them. They drink coffee together. They go, this is a regular. It was a documentary.
Passports.
It was a documentary the whole time. All right, it was a documentary the whole time.
It would make sense that they're like, the term Men in Black, but it would make sense that there would be some sort of agency and department that like specialized in going and like checking on these things.
Even if, not even really checking, not much checking, just like keeping an eye out all over the globe. And the people, and they're not even, we always talk about the human hybrid program. Imagine like this MIB, they are just hybrids. They're not even humans at all. Humanity, all the world's governments have no idea about them. That's why no one knows that they're there. And there's like an alien hybrid species that's set up on the earth.
But isn't that one of the things that they like? That's why they used to have to wear like makeup and shit like that, because they weren't human.
We don't talk about that story. All right, number one.
Yeah.
That story comes back to bite us every time.
I mean, we got foreign countries operating police stations in Canada.
This is true.
Is it that hard to believe that you would have intergalactic agencies running on Earth undetected, right? Like,
and they have a whole like network here. Maybe there's like thousands of them. They actually are just like extracting resources, and we see these UFOs and they're taking them out to the mothership and they're zapping them across space time. We have no idea. Some people say, "Oh, Men in Black." They're like, "There's no evidence of Men in Black. No one's ever whistle blew on the Men in Black." Blah blah blah. Like, that's because they're not human.
Yeah, well, I can get on board with that, or it's just like it's not really it's just a branch of the CIA, or like something like that, where it's like they say Men in Black, but it's like, yeah, it was just fucking these two guys. They just wore suits,
just wearing normal suits,
they were normal suits, and that was where the Lord started.
If it's human, but it's like someone always whistleblows.
Yeah, I guess so. I mean. And there's enough accounts of these people getting pressured by these people.
Or it's like a really small department. It was like 6 guys.
It's a Batman scenario where someone was just a billionaire. Like, this is what I'm going to do.
Yeah. Like Bigelow. Yeah. Bigelow was funding the fucking Men in Black.
Oh, it was what's his face? The TWA guy went crazy. Howard Hughes.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I could see Hughes fucking funding something like that. He's fucking wild. But I mean, that's an interesting aspect of these is you have this like, you know, these people that come and kind of pressure people. And people it's always described as like, you know, don't tell your story.
You saw nothing.
Keep your mouth shut.
Yep.
Basically, you didn't see what you think you saw. You're stupid. And don't tell anyone either. It's like, well, why would they care? If what they saw wasn't what they think, then who cares? Like, you know what I mean? Why would anyone care?
In this case, I could see it like, you know, as a matter of just kind of the school like losing kind of some piece of its reputation, I suppose. They don't want to be known for that. Like they don't want to be known as like the UFO school like back then. And I think Shane Ryan did like an interview with the children of the headmaster. Like I think he did an interview with them and they talked about he was a very like no nonsense kind of very logical person who's like, I don't believe in this stuff. Like, you know, everything is very nuts and bolts. And this is how it works. And so he just didn't.
Well, I think he just sees it as a distraction from.
Yeah, I mean,
from learning. It's like, listen, enough of this fucking shit. It's time to focus on school.
Yeah,
I think
time for learning
the belt.
Like there was a part where like the principal of the school was reported saying like there was like they were getting floods of phone calls like every day after the event. From
where's this little girl? All right, where the fuck is she? Where is she?
You're getting calls from. I mean, they said they were getting calls from the actual Air Force, and then not just them, but also you're getting flying saucer associations. Calling in the school. Why I say it was interrupting the school studies exactly, I don't know.
Excuse me, this is Keith from the Flying Saucer Association. I'd like to talk to this principal, please.
It's Australian enough. Well, I guess get an international call.
It actually makes me mad that we keep saying headmaster and then we talked about Snape because I feel like I'm so nasally that I should be able to do a good Snape, but I can't even think about what he says or sounds like right now.
Just say Potter, like a
Mr.
asshole.
No, I'll practice it up. Potter.
You got to curl the lip, yeah. Andrew had it there.
It's gone now.
It's gone. Disappeared. Let's go, Professor.
But that's all about Westall, I suppose.
Westall UFO.
Cool.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Another one of the books.
Yeah, tough toss up.
Should dedicate this to the memory of that poor little.
Yeah, this case file goes out to Tanya. We hope you're found and reunited with your family, and to Tanya's family who's never come forward,
claiming she was missing.
We stand with you in these troubling times, and search for Tanya continues.
You will not be forgotten.
Where's Tanya?
Next case file. Where's Tanya?
All right. Do we have Theory of the Week?
We've been slacking on the Theory of the Weeks. The Facebook group. I've not been peeking around in there. I'll be honest. I have not.
All right, well,
Facebook updated the interface, like the UI of Facebook. You can't find the group. It's impossible. I own the page. The four of us own the page, and I cannot find the group unless I start digging. Like your group, scroll. It's been buried, man. Fucking buried.
We should make the Theory of the Week this fucking Brendan guy that everybody's
Who the fuck's Brendan?
really worried about. This Brendan guy that everybody
new to the show. Who's Brendan? Who's Brendan?
That's funny. Oh, we got to give it what's it called? Posthumously to Kyle, who passed away.
Oh yeah,
that's his
last week.
That feels right.
Good old theorite. Many of you may have known or seen the post. He was fighting cancer. He unfortunately succumbed last week after a long, hard battle with cancer. So Kyle's our Theory of the Week, and our thoughts go out to his family.
Theory of the Week.
Fuck cancer.
Fuck cancer.
Fucking right.
Taken too young, man.
Way too young. Brutal. And do we have some new Patreon supporters?
We didn't read them last week, so we do have a couple new Patreon supporters. If you're not supporting the show, you gotta go.
We do got one new one.
Got a couple. There's a couple in there. Couple beauties. If you're not supporting the show, you gotta go to alientheorists.com. You gotta hit the support tab. Sign up on Supercast or Patreon. And this is what you get. In addition to all our bonus stuff and early access.
Yeah, tons.
Ad-free. All the good shit. This week we got Josh Dodge, Jose Gonzalez, Tennis Face. Play pickleball, man. Come on.
It's like Leatherface.
And Aaron Noble, thank you very much for supporting the show. We fucking appreciate it.
And as we always say at the end of these things, keep those eyes. Skies.
See you in after hours.